Hi, I'm Christie Golden, and I am a senior writer, and I would be invited to participate in helping reforge Warcraft 3.
And I'm Bridenbecker, executive producer for Warcraft III Reforged and this game.
Awesome. I'm Jake Kalinski. I make YouTube videos, and
I'm Bradley Sovic, or Vipey, and I'm a YouTube content creator.
Cool. So I mean, just jumping right into things, we saw the Calling Stratholme, and immediately you guys mentioned that you're trying to make it a little bit more true to the design of Stratholme in World of Warcraft, because that's a much more, I guess, vigorous and defined realm at that point. Are we going to see pretty much more of that and more evolution of the whole world?
Yeah, so I think, and I think Christie, by all means, jump in terms of some of the lore and the backstory. But one of the things that we started on with the Calling Stratholme was just even sort of evoking that emotional element of the players that have, over the past 15 years or so, been deeply rooted in World of Warcraft. They may not necessarily know about the origins with Warcraft 3, and just even the placement of how you come into the city and how that really pencils out from a gameplay standpoint, didn't really match back to sort of the memories that you have when you're playing a game inside World of Warcraft. So by just moving the starting position, bringing the camera down, and redoing some of those in-game cutscenes to allow that story to really take shape has been a prime focus. And there's other areas where we're going to be able to do that throughout the course of the campaign. And I'd love for Christie to talk a little bit more about opportunities from a lore standpoint.
Yes, it was so much fun. They invited me to participate. And so basically what I've been doing is we don't want to rewrite the story. We don't want to add complete new side quests and adventures and things like that. This is so beloved. We want people to just have the experience they remember, only smoother, a little more deeper, a little more richer. And so what I've been doing is I've been returning to my novel Arthas, which was in itself basically a novelization of the original game. And the instructions that I had when doing that project were to augment but don't change. So I'm kind of doing the same thing here. And obviously we can't take out whole backstories and plug them in. We don't want to. But there's often a line or two that really just kind of adds a little bit of emotional depth or some exposition about the history and things like that. And given where we are now with Battle for Azeroth, with both Jaina and Sylvanas having major roles, it's super important to kind of remember where they came from. And so this was kind of an opportunity to build a sounder bridge, if you were, between Warcraft 3 and World of Warcraft. And so we would just be doing a line or two here or there. Remind people that Arthas was once really beloved. He was wanted to do well by his people, and that was his trap, is he wanted that too much at the expense of everything. And so just kind of make it let it breathe a little bit.
So are you adding little nuances just to add extra bridge to, or you add little hints, or from the novels? The novels have a little more extensive.
Yes,
I played the campaign many times with that. And so, I mean, I've read some a little bit of novels, and there's a lot more that you don't get to see because there's not much, time, I guess, in the campaigns to reiterate on that.
Absolutely, and nor do we want to bog down the flow of gameplay, with whole paragraphs of people sitting back and forth talking. It's like we're not. I'll read the book. I promise. I mean, just play my game. But a line or two to just kind of enhance something, like for instance, when Uther comes to Jaina and he's asked if she's seen Arthas, and he tells her that he's taken all the ships. And there's we go into that in the book a little bit, and he says, I don't understand why they would disobey orders from their captains. And Jaina says, it's Arthas. He's their prince. They love him. These people trusted him, and that just kind of makes it even more tragic.
Yeah, that's huge. Actually.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
And it's 2 lines.
Yeah.
So that's the sort of effect we're going for.
But it's not going to be Kael'thas and him and the High Elves and us learning more about that, because Kael'thas in the Frozen Throne is just kind of like, hi, I'm Kael'thas.
You appear on a road and
it's
just kind of there.
Well, we'll have a couple of lines in there, and there's actually in the game itself it says, are you still upset that I took Jaina from you? So that is reference. So we can delve into that just a little bit more.
Very cool.
So, but nothing too clunky or too long. We just want to just run it a little bit to make it just go a little deeper.
There's in the campaigns. There's like we saw Morganis, and you know he kind of is present right now, and I know he kind of has a very short-lived start in the game. Is he gonna have a little bit more nuance to him because he's kind of the start and downfall of Arthas in a way. You know, he was the ploy, I guess. If I'm saying it incorrect.
We'll have a little bit again. Just a little bit more of hooking him in more securely so that we understand his role and maybe some comments that Arthas, how he feels about him and things like that. Again, we were not going to give him a whole big backstory and a separate quest or whatever, everything like that, because we want people to, it's kind of like new players to introduce it who recognize some of these characters, and old players who played it right at the very beginning and are going for the nostalgia. So we don't want to repackage the game and say, here's this totally different thing.
Right.
We want to give them what they had, only a little bit more deeper.
Yeah, and I think a little bit of this is, you know, you're talking about bridging. It's also our ability to help tell the story and help tell the narrative over all the years has improved from early, 2001, 2002. And those couple of lines really can really transform that depth, that emotional connection, and that's really the opportunity that we see in helping to round out some of these origin stories, as it were, because these are a lot of the icons of in their early days, and folks they want to better understand it, and so this is a great opportunity for us to do that, and with certainly with Christie's help, trying to press on that and help to round it out so that nice bridge into the broader World of Warcraft lore that exists is huge for us.
When it comes to the game side of things, like you're talking about slipping in lines, could you guys, or would you guys consider adding in little hints that tie to the say, a wanted poster for Hogger, or maybe a sign, join the Scarlet Crusade, or
That's
something.
That's a good
subtle
suggestion.
Things that you sneak in there.
That's a cool suggestion. So there are definitely things where again I come back to the culling, right? This was something where when we rejiggered even starting positions and just how you approach the city, that was to help drive that emotional connection. But there's also little pockets. I don't want to give anything away.
Of course.
But there's little pockets even throughout the mission that we've been able to introduce that are loose references back into what you see inside of Stratholme. And then we also took some liberties on removing some things. There's no longer a zoo in Stratholme. There's no longer dolphin statues. Certain things just didn't really work, but they were in the original. And so we said, well, we think we're okay by removing these.
Okay. You mean the dolphin statues that were in all the caves? I remember those vividly. There's more for you. I feel like when it comes the style of the game was beautiful. I haven't got a chance to play it just yet. I'm waiting till I get the stream. I'm excited. But everything looks really nice. Are we gonna kind of keep the similar WoW feel, what they look like in a way, or are we kind of going for a fresh look?
We're definitely, so we used the Miss of Pandaria kind of opening cinematic as a lodestar for the art style, where it was sort of that stylized realism. Proportions were all correct, and you had a lot of detail around it. I mean, it came up during a panel yesterday where a lot of the units just didn't have necks at all. They were just bodies attached to it, like an upper torso, and that was it. And just that sort of added flavor, the additional detail allows us to give that a little greater sense of realism to it, without it going too far, right? And that's the balance that we're trying to strike, is keeping it still very stylized, but also adding in elements of realism. And so even with metal having some chinks in the armor, and the leather straps actually looking like leather. We've introduced PBR systems that we're able to actually have those pieces. So that's something that our art team has really been focused on landing on, so that it feels iconically Warcraft, while at the same time leveraging certain modern technologies and ways to kind of project out that art style for the community.
So no gyrocopter with just a head on top.
Basically. There are legitimately some units where we look at it and we go, what is that? It's like a blob, but okay, no, we know what it is because it was, it's been that way. But man, it gives us the opportunity to add in just more detailed, more rich, and really to reference back into World of Warcraft, right? Like we know what the models can look like, and so that's where the fun has been in terms of like tying the connection between the two.
So obviously the goal is to recreate War 3 for new audience, old members. How much emphasis is there on delivering a product that makes it good for the WoW players, right? Like what is the like number on the priority there?
This is Warcraft 3.
Okay.
That's our primary focus. We want to make sure that, like, we started from the Warcraft 3 engine, the original Warcraft 3 engine, and we have evolved the original Warcraft 3 engine. And so that comes along with all the niceties of all the maps and so forth that are coming out of the custom game community, the existing campaign, the existing maps and so forth. Those will all come along for the ride as well.
Wait.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Wait, what?
Literally every map that exists.
Not well,
Oh, okay.
most of them.
Okay.
Like there's like 50,000, 100,000 maps that are out
So
there.
some of the crazy
right?
ones might not work.
But what we're doing is, because it is the same engine, right? All those maps do just load up, and it's actually kind of cool because, like, when we're focusing on doing the Colonial Stratholme and doing the demo for that, we'll go in and we'll go into the next mission, and the next mission already starts to look amazing and beautiful because, again, same core engine. And as we're working on the project, when things aren't done, we still have the original SD assets that are in there, and they'll just continue to function side by side with it. So it's actually a pretty remarkable achievement on the part of the engineers and artists. But again, to Christie's point, like, part of this is, let's build some bridging between Warcraft 3 and World of Warcraft. But that's certainly not the emphasis. The emphasis is really, this is Warcraft 3. There's so much depth to the story. There's so much depth to the campaign. There's so much depth in the multiplayer elements of it. There's such a broad variety of like the custom game community that we wanted to make sure we preserved that. That was our lodestar.
This is a question for you, Christie. What is like your, out of all the characters that we can see right now are going to be present, what's your most defining character you're excited to kind of like give them more of an emotional connection with? Like, who is like your exciting point to kind of give more of a feel for them? Like,
well, we really wanted to turn our attention to Sylvanas because she's so important right now. And actually, when you look in the game, she doesn't get all that much screen time.
Yeah.
And we don't get a real sense of who she are and the sacrifices that she made, and just how deeply her suffering and her revenge goes.
Right.
And there's nothing more fun than writing a complex character who's got, some grit to them. And so that's definitely a priority for all of us to see a little bit more. And there's a couple of lines where she's, thinking about her revenge that I'm kind of fond of. And I'm like, can we sneak that one in there? And I think there's one line where she's thinking about finally she's starting to move toward her revenge on Arthas, and it says, the sands are running out and I am the hourglass. And she said, like, I'm coming for you. So, little things like that we could just put in, again, flavor a single line here or there, but, and there's so much to choose from because it's a whole novel of this stuff. And so it's really important to get some ones that really capture that, make people go, ooh, and I work with a great team. And Ryan and Justin are amazing. And so what I'll do is I'll just plop, here's the extra stuff that I wrote around this scene. We'll read through it. We're like, this is cool, but too much to process here. But this line. And so we're really just distilling, for maximum impact and hopefully chills and good stuff like that.
And piggybacking off of that, Sylvanas, in the game, and if I remember correctly in lore, doesn't she find her body and come back from, because I know in Warcraft 3 she is a banshee spirit. Are we gonna feel like more of that feeling when she's a banshee, like her remorse?
How was the gameplay for Sylvanas?
If you can talk about it, I'm just in my mind.
Probably a little too soon to
Yeah.
get into details.
Just in general, talking about Sylvanas and Jaina and writing for them in BFA and simultaneously going back to stuff that was written 15 years ago, is that a challenge? Because Jaina in particular is a completely different character at this point in BFA.
See, I love things like this. This is, just really what gets me excited to get up in the morning. Because I have written these characters, I've written a whole book about Jaina, I've written Sylvanas for 10 years, and so I have all of this knowledge of who they are and their characters. And I'm like, there was a line in this book, you know, find this and whatever. So, and that's actually a really good point that we did want to bring up, is we revisited some of Warcraft 3 in this expansion through Jaina's Torment.
Yeah.
And so we went back and again, augment, don't change. We pulled all of those lines, were directly pulled from there. So we were just making sure that this here in Jaina's Realm of Torment corresponded with the novel. What do we do around this scene in the novel that we could also use back to the original script? So we're trying to create this really smooth feel so that you're not janked whichever part of the lore that you're reading.
And I guess just to follow up on the same theme, is it ever tough to bounce between, like, say, a horde mentality and an alliance mentality in writing?
Well, you know, I've actually, this Before the Storm is my 54th book.
Wow.
So, and I've been doing it for 27 years, so I have the multiple point of view, but I'm theater trained. And by the way, I am going into the studios to record the audiobook of Arthas here very, very soon. So yeah, I'm really excited.
We love
about it.
audiobooks.
Yay!
We love audiobooks. So like.
Excellent. And I've done a few that should be out already, if not now, then very, very soon, some of the backlog. I'm sorry, I got sidetracked.
Yeah, just bounce between horde and alliance. Like,
That's
as a
back
writer.
and forth. Well, I'm theater trained, so I just kind of like get into the mode. If I were portraying this character, how would I be thinking? What would I be noticing? What would be important to me? And that's kind of how I get in. And then I do try to do breaks in my writing, so you'll see there's like a little bit of space, and then we're in somebody else's head to delineate a clear distinction.
Very cool. I think what else we can poke about. A lot of this I don't think you can answer. Well, you answered a lot of them just by saying it's not going to happen.
We won't be doing that.
We're like, what about Jen?
But the style of what we're looking at, like, I'm just excited to see like other places. I remember Dollar Run. Going to Dollar Run in the old game was very like purple and boxy. I'm just excited as a person. I just want to tell you to see it in this kind of aspect. Like it's just gonna be beautiful. I feel like from what I saw watching other streams so far, it just looks.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, when we started out and the team was getting together on, you know, the vision for how it would ultimately manifest, you know, like I'm going, I don't know if we're gonna be able to pull it off, because we are starting from a place of the original engine, and there are going to be a lot of limitations behind that, right? Because we do have to preserve that compatibility and so forth. But seeing the Calling of Strathholm, the other missions that the team's been working on, and how the camera gets recut so that it feels more alive and electric. The viewport of just even the camera as you're getting the intro cinematic. Like you think about how many hours of footage there is within Warcraft 3, and all that all those in-game cutscenes are going to get this great treatment behind it. I think it's actually it's going to be. I'm with you. I think it's going to be amazing for people that never really got an opportunity to experience it, and equally it's going to be amazing for people that went back or that did play it 15, 16 years ago. They're going to have an opportunity to play it again.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of forced my stream because I started streaming this again because I was like, you know, I needed a break from playing other games, and this is my all-time favorite game. Like, I stole this CD from my sister in her room and started playing it. That's where it all began. I played her, and so I you know, a lot of viewers that are either younger have never even seen this game before.
Yeah.
They grew up on World of Warcraft, and there's so much, you know, to offer.
Yeah.
And they kind of like, wow, this looks great. So this excites me. When this was announced, this excited me to see that they're going to experience this all over, because coming back to their storylines that are written that they will never get to experience, like, and now they will, because it's just an awesome thing.
That's awesome, and thank you so much. Like that's what we're going after, right? Is like it really is all about the community, not just the community that grew up with it, not just the community that has been engaged with it for the past 15 years, but for the community that never had the opportunity to play it. Like we want to give them something back that helps celebrate just this amazing franchise, this amazing story. So looking forward to it.
I have to say, the passion around this project is really wonderful. We all get together and we're so well aware of what this means to people, and and what it means to us, you know, because this is the beginning of all of it. And so just the passion of the game team for this, it's really wonderful. There's so much energy around it.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure I screeched at a high pitch and no one heard it in the
Oh, we were so excited for this.
Just comparing it to Brood War and the remaster that we got there.
Sure.
You mentioned it's the same client. Are we going to be able to toggle the graphics?
Yeah. Now it may not be exactly the same way. We had some the way that that StarCraft Remastered worked. It was actually, because it's a sprite-based game, we could effectively load up all the stuff under the hood. So you would just press a single button, and it would immediately toggle back and forth.
Yeah.
Because the nature of the engine itself, the 3D and so forth, like memory is an issue. So I'm particularly passionate about that because I want to make sure that our players have the ability to play the game the way that they want to play it. If they want to play it using all the old graphics, cool. Have a button they can press or an option that they can go into that allows that to happen.
The UI, everything?
All of it.
Wow.
Right?
Great.
And then if you're playing the new version, you're playing the new version. It may not be a press F5 and instantly it toggles, but there's going to be that functionality in place.
Now because I've been going back into World Editor because I love that.
Sure.
And I've been listening to the dialogue and like we're getting the original dialogue from the original game. Is that what I saw, what I heard? Is it, or is that just a placeholder for right now?
That's something that we're looking at because as Christie's mentioning, right, we have lines here and lines there that we are going to want to put in place. We are recording additional languages as well, so there's a lot going into the VO as well as just how we're helping to tell the story. Is the world editor going to be like the original way? Yeah. No, we actually. So this has actually been one of the I don't want to say one of the trickiest parts, but like for about the past 18 months, 2 years, we've been going all around the world to like various mapmaker salons and like meeting with community members to understand like how they're using the world editor, what things are important, what bugs do we need to look at, what features do we need to look at implementing, and we have to do it all under the guise of like, yeah, but we're just like doing some patches. We're not actually doing anything beyond that, and everybody's looking at it, and every time we have this conversation, they go, they're gonna know we're working on this thing. They're gonna know, and we can't tell them. And I don't know. Like, maybe folks knew and they didn't say anything. That was sort of the implied pact, but that was probably one of the trickiest pieces. But in the process of doing it, we found some really amazing people from the community that we could work with. And so in some cases we said, you know what, we should just hire you. And so we brought people that were very familiar with the world editor.
Really?
We hired them, brought them on the team. They're helping to evolve it. We have people that have been part of the custom map scene that understand all of the ways in which players are engaging with the game. We brought them on board to the team.
Are we talking tower defense? Are we talking esports maps? Are we talking all of the above?
Yes.
Footman Wars?
Yes.
I was a Footman Wars player, so like I'm like...
Again, the goal is if the map was made using the world editor and the assets that that we provided,
Wow.
the goal is you'll be able to load that up and it'll just work.
I think we're almost out of time, but I want to throw one final question your way. Obviously, you've been very passionately involved in the Warcraft world for a very long time, and when you're revisiting a world,
Before that,
reforging a world, and especially with World of Warcraft, you're learning so much. Is there anything that you're just super anxious to tell more stories about, like No Mergid, anything? Is there any things that you would love to tie more in? I guess personally. Personal, yeah. We're not
always
talking
like this is like, what's your favorite X, and it's like all of the things at the same time. There's just a lot of stories. I'm very, very happy working with, as I call them, my old friends. The ones that I've been working with so long, with Solanas and with Anduin and with Thrall and with Jaina, and so I just love. They're familiar. I know them very well. It's always great to revisit them and step into their shoes again. So right now, nothing is occurring to me that I'm particularly itching to do. But there are so many stories. This world is so big and has so much rich history. So.